Okay, hi everyone. My name's Douglas Bell. I'm a professor of English language education with the University of Nottingham on their mainland China campus. And time of this video, I've been working in China with Nottingham for about the last 7 years, so quite a good stretch. In this video today, I'm going to talk about a new book that I've just published. I'll hold it up to the camera there. English for Academic Purposes, Perspectives on the Past, Present and Future. This is published by Multilingual Matters. So in this video, I'd like to say a little about the book, its genesis, where the idea came from, and the different themes that I touch on in the book. So in terms of the book's genesis, I've been involved now in English language teaching for about the last 36, 37 years, so quite a long time. My career dates back to the 1980s when I first started as a volunteer English teacher. But about 25 of those 36, 37 years have now been spent in the field of EAP, English for Academic Purposes. And I've worked in EAP internationally, as well as my home country, the UK. I've worked in Austria, Turkey, Japan, the States for a short time, Australia, and most recently mainland China. So quite an international spread of EAP, one way or another. And I think what that 25 years of involvement in the field has given me is a genuine and sustained interest in EAP, particularly its historical development, how people get into EAP, the journey they go on when they move from other forms of English language teaching into EAP teaching, and what constitutes good practice in EAP, professionalism in EAP. So I'm interested in all of those things and have been for some time. And I'm also very interested in where EAP as a discipline is going, because I think, like many other areas of higher education at the moment, EAP is finding itself in a state of considerable flux. It's a very uncertain time. We've just come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. We've got things like the emergence of generative AI, ChatGPT, and lots of other things that are arguably going to pose a threat, in my view, to EAP's continued existence. So I'm interested in all of those things. And I guess that interest coalesced in 2012 when I did my doctorate. My doctoral thesis was called Practitioners, Professionalism and Pedagogies in EAP, the Development of a Contested Field. And in that thesis, I wanted to look at the historical development of EAP and chart some of the different issues it had faced. And I talked at that time to 15 fairly big names, if you like, well-known people in the field of EAP and ESP who'd been involved since the very beginning, some of them so from the 1960s right through to the present day. I wanted to get a spread of perspectives from different people. So that was my doctoral thesis, as I said, 2012, and I finished in 2016. More recently, just a couple of years ago, I thought it would be interesting to go back and have another chat with some of those people that I interviewed for my thesis and see if anything had changed in the field of EAP and get some fresh perspectives on where the field might be heading. So the data I collected from that second round of interviews has largely fed into this book now. So perspectives on the past, present and future. I've talked to lots of people involved in the field and tried to get their views on where they think EAP is heading. So some of the things I talk about in the book, I look at the core issues that I think EAP has faced over the last 50, 60 years. It is, after all, a very young field. It's been within my lifetime, which makes me feel particularly close to EAP. It's not something in the distant past. So I look at some of those core issues. I talk about what I see as being the main strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So in terms of threats, I talk about things like the emergence of generative AI, the privatization, the ongoing privatization of EAP, changing demographics around international student mobility, lots of things like that. And I guess I try to provide, I try to speculate on where I think EAP as a discipline is likely to be heading. I look at things like EAP's status in the academy, and I discuss at length why EAP generally has poor status compared to some of the other academic subjects. So these are all things that I talk about in my book. And my hope is that these discussions will serve as a catalyst for further exploration, further research into this very interesting field called EAP. So thank you for listening. Again, my book with Multilingual Matters, and I hope very much that people will read it and find it interesting. And I'm always interested to hear from fellow EAP practitioners and discuss things further. So thanks very much.